Awesome sauce.
Let me let them in. We lost one person, but that's okay. And I'm going live on Facebook.
I can't even fit that much food in my own belly. I can't eat them.
Afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Yep,
And
we
just
are.
let me know when you're ready, Lucretia.
Okay. Another one. She's coming in now. Okay, we have a couple, and so I'll keep watching.
Mhm.
We can go ahead and get started.
Okay, perfect. So we're live. All right, wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Jamrock Live. We are excited to have you all, of course, and to be with you again. Each and every time we have a chance to come together, we are definitely excited about it because, listen, we know we need this time together. We know that. The people that we are bringing in front of you, we know that they are going to pour into you and give you just the nuggets you need to make it through another week and really focus in on the three pillars that we've been talking about as it relates to your whole body business. So without further ado, I do want to introduce our expert, our speaker for the day, and her name is Dr. Vicki Johnson. I'm going to share a little bit about her before I hand it over. And she is a transformational speaker, chaplain, best-selling author of 12 books, and the CEO of Soul Wealth. Her most recent book, Soul Wealth: Finding Vision, Compassion, Authenticity, Abundance, and Legacy in the Midst of Chaos, was released August 2019. That was before COVID, y'all. She also leads an online community with lots of in-person engagement. She supports women leaders as they build their own tribes and grow their own businesses. I have the pleasure of knowing Dr. Vicki, personally and professionally, just as a beautiful soul. She has always been one to pour into other women and other women in business. And so I'm really excited to have her here today because her definition of soul wealth, which she's going to talk about today, is so timely and so needed for such a time as this. So definitely make sure that you guys are ready. Make sure you got your pens and your paper so you can jot down some of these nuggets she's gonna drop. But Dr. Vicki, welcome. Just welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Janelle, and thank you, Lucretia. I am so honored to be here to serve your community and just to be a part of this series that you're doing is so needed. It's so needed. As we were sharing a little bit before we came on live, I'm just honored to be on the front line in this way. I feel like my whole life has prepared me for this moment. And I will offer that to each of us, that everything that has happened in your life up to this moment has prepared you for this moment. And I want to honor that. I want to hold space for that. I want to frame that for you because frequently we look for power and strength and insight and wisdom outside of ourselves. But the truth is, everything we need, we already have it. We just have to activate it. So again, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And I honor Janelle and Lucretia as my sisters, as fellow sisters, in business. And I am aware that there are women and men in your community and in the space of work that you do. So I will be speaking, to you as a community. And I'm aware that it's not just women. I am Dr. Vicki Johnson. I am a chaplain. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I'm a mom. And right now in 2020, what has become very clear to me and to all of us is that what we do is not as important as who we are, right? This year has leveled the playing field for all of us. We've all experienced fear, anxiety. We've all experienced pain and grief, disappointment, sadness. I know I had multiple events and multiple trips and vacation and all of that, just hard stop, right? And initially in the beginning, it felt like, oh, this will pass. And then the longer we were in, the longer it has become, the longer it is indefinitely. And so for that reason, I want to just for the next few moments, and then at the end of our time together today, I'll open the floor, or the floor will be open for questions and dialogue. But I just want to set a foundation from which you can continue to build your self-care practice and ask questions so that you are even further empowered to practice self-care. As a chaplain, and I've been in this work of ministry and more marketplace ministry of helping particularly women and men heal their souls. That is important because the soul, our soul, my soul, your soul, is the seat of your emotions. It's where our emotions reside. And so at the top of our time today, let me say that you cannot power your way through pain, hardship, and anxiety consistently. You might be able to do it here and there, but if your way of being and your way of survival has been to power your way through, eventually you're going to burn out. I'm also an athlete. I played basketball for years, came to college on a basketball scholarship, and I'm grateful for that athleticism and that muscle memory, because being an athlete, what that translated to into my life after actively engaging in sports is mindset and capacity, right? And it is the hard times, it is the painful times that create capacity in us. Shakespeare said this, he said, "This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day. Thou cannot then be false to any man or any person." Translation, that in order for us to be honest with other people, in order for us to serve from a place of overflow and not our capacity, let me just insert parenthetically, one thing that I say all of the time is that we have to serve, love, and give to others from our overflow and not our capacity. If we give consistently from our capacity, what it's going to do is it's going to diminish or decrease what we need for us to be healthy, to be happy, to be settled, and to be grounded. So you want to give from your overflow and not your capacity. What does that mean? How is that relevant to us? It means we have to be mindful of how we are feeling in every moment, lest we'll try to power our way through spaces and places and timelines and deadlines to the point of exhaustion, where now we're not able to give our best. We're not able to operate in excellence because we're doing it from a deficit. And when you operate and function and flow from a deficit, eventually you run into the wall that I call resentment. Eventually you run into the wall that I call depression. Eventually you'll run into the wall that I call fatigue, right? And anxiety, which now limits your ability to really show up and be who you know that you're capable of being. So self-care is all about the luxuriant things, right? And self-care is something that has been high on my list, because when I started Soul Wealth and when I started working with women back in 2000, actually, so I'm in my 20th year. And when I started doing this work, you know, self-care was a big thing. Like and then the conversation was get a massage, right? You know, you want to take care, you want to eat properly, you want to move your body, you want to do all of the things that feel good. That's the luxury of self-care. However, especially in this year, what 2020 has taught us is that our soul care now has to be a part of our self-care regimen. Why is that important? That is important because your soul is the seat of your emotions. So imagine your soul as a bowl, right? A bowl or a container. Your emotions are housed in that bowl, in that container. And if you don't give attention and set intentions of caring, not only for the bowl, but for the contents of the bowl, eventually it's going to lose its effectiveness. And our emotions are the same way. So I am imploring you to add your emotions to your self-care regimen, which I call soul wealth. Now, what is soul wealth? Soul wealth is vision, compassion, authenticity, abundance, and legacy, first in your life and then in the lives of others. It comes from the scripture in 3 John, where God says, I would that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. You know what that means to us? That means that your life can only prosper to the extent that your soul or your emotions are healthy. So if you're being productive, if you're being fruitful, you're making a lot of money, you're establishing a lot of contacts, you know, you're networking, you're out doing all of these things, which are wonderful things, it will crumble eventually if your emotional well-being is not equal or greater to the level of what we measure as success. And so I want to invite you to really take inventory of what you are feeling. And I'm pausing on purpose because I want you to sit in this. I really want you to examine, how am I feeling? How can we care for our soul? And I have some tools that I want to share. But how do we do that? In a culture where our emotions are being manipulated all the time, how do you care for your soul? And the way that you care for your soul is that you have to feel your feelings. This is the work that I do. I hold space and support women specifically as they feel their feelings. I know what it is as a former athlete to play through the pain, to play with the pain. And that translates for a lot of us right into life. We don't stop to think, how am I feeling today? You know, what happened to put me here? What am I not addressing? I know what it is to show up and ignore the pain. I know what it is to not feel, right? And 2020 is provoking a lot of us to not feel, but just get through it, just power through it. But you have to feel your feelings in order to heal them. How do you feel your feelings, and why is it important to feel your feelings? I'll tell you why. You must find meaning for your emotion in order to manage it. You have to find meaning, significance for each emotion in order to heal it and in order to manage it. How do you do that? Glad you asked. You have to, number one, live the question. And I'm sharing some tools with you. You have to live the question. What question, Vicki? I'm glad you asked. Why do I feel this way? That's question number one. You got to live that. Why do I feel this way? Am I watching too much television? Do I need to turn down the volume of my social media engagement for a minute? Do I need to go outside and hug a tree, literally? Do I need to find some water and just sit and meditate? Do I need to go outside and just look up at the sky and let the sun give me some free vitamin D? A lot of us are deficient in vitamin D, which activates our pineal glands, which activate our awareness and our energy centers, our chakra systems, that bring us into spiritual alignment so that we can be sensitive to what's happening. And by that, and I won't go off into that too deeply, but I mean a sensitivity that says something like, I need to stay home today. Something's off. That something is your intuition. Some people call it discernment. Some people call it a gut feeling. But when you are in alignment with yourself, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, then you can consistently practice a self-care, soul care regimen that is nourishing. It's not just about feeling good. It's about being nourished. So when you're living the question, why do I feel this way? Did I watch some crazy news too late and then go to sleep? So that's what prompted my dream life, which kept me from really resting, even though I was asleep. Did I eat too late? Am I not drinking enough water? Am I dehydrated? Like all of these things begin to come into play. And what it also activates is what I like to call a divine intelligence that will help you tap into the wisdom of your body, where you can listen to your body. For example, there was a time some years ago, I kept having this unction or this feeling that said, do yoga. You need to stretch. You need to do yoga or do Pilates, one of the two. And it was my body communicating that to me because of my muscle memory, because of my prior athleticism. My body was like, we need to move. We need to stretch. So when you're tuning into why do I feel this way, that's what living the question is. Maybe living the question for you is, what happened? What happened? Have I experienced the loss of a loved one, a friend, a coworker, a business acquaintance? Am I grieving? And, I know in the corporate sector, you get 3 good days of bereavement leave, 1, 2, 3, right? And then it's back to work. Well, when you're working for yourself, when you're in business for yourself, when you're an entrepreneur, you're thinking, if I'm not working, then I'm not going to be surviving. I'm not going to be able to meet my needs. I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, right? So sometimes we need space to feel and heal and live the question, but our minds cannot reason it. We can't rationalize taking time to feel. So sometimes it's not, why do I feel this way? It's what happened. And I am offering to you to acknowledge what happened, set aside some time to be with what happened. That might mean journaling. Again, getting outside. I cannot stress enough getting out into nature. I was sharing with Lucretia and Janelle that I'm a beach baby. Like, I love the beach. I grew up on the beach. My grandfather was a beach ranger. Like, literally, I grew up on the beach. And not being able to get to the ocean, at first, I almost gave into that. I almost felt defeated. But then my body, that wisdom, this practice of soul care and self-care said, go outside. Go outside. I love water. Okay, chase some waterfalls. So I started chasing waterfalls, literally. I Googled, where are waterfalls? So I started going to the park, but I had to hike some miles to get to the waterfalls. And after the first time I did it, I had an aha moment, an epiphany, like, oh my God, this was amazing. So you know what I did the next week? I chased another waterfall. And your thing might not be hiking. Your thing might not be chasing waterfalls, but you have a thing. And whatever your thing is can be the tool that you use to live the question. So it can be, why do I feel this way? What happened? Who, if anyone else, is involved? Right? That's another question we get to live. Where did this occur? When did it occur? And how? You want to live the question. And when you're living these questions, when you get the answers, this is important. Number 2, let the answer breathe. It's not for you to fix. It's intelligence and wisdom for you to have, so you know what you need to do to nourish your soul. Live the question, and when you get the answers, let the answers breathe. All right? And not shallow breaths either, but take deep cleansing breaths. Like, when you get the answers to those questions, you read the answer, you know the answer, and then breathe. Inhale and exhale. Breathe deeply. And as you're inhaling and exhaling, what you're releasing is whatever negative charge or any charge that doesn't feel good, because it doesn't have to be negative. It can just be overwhelmed, you know, and sometimes we can be overwhelmed by goodness. So you want to create capacity and give yourself room and space to let the answer breathe. And then number 3, as you're letting the answer breathe, what you're also going to get is information. You're not only going to take that intelligence from living the question and letting the answer breathe, but then you're going to take the information that you get, and then you're going to practice being loyal to your resolutions. Another way of saying that is you're going to set boundaries. And sometimes soul care requires that we not only set boundaries for other people, sometimes we need to set boundaries for ourselves. That might mean I'm not turning on the television for 3 days, right? I'm going to schedule my social media so I don't have to see anything that might trigger me, that's going to send me backwards and then have me in a place of not being productive at all. So you're going to live the question, you're going to let the answer breathe, and then you're going to be loyal to your resolution. And that takes practice. So you have to do it today, then tomorrow you have to get up and do it again, because you want to create a practice, which will then become a habit, which will then become a way of life that supports your soul care, which is a part of your self-care. So boundaries are critical. Emotional boundaries are essential. Emotional boundaries are essential. So I want you to write these 5 words down, and you can play with them in your practice of soul care, which is a part of your self-care. And this is the thing, you know, self-care and soul care is like grief. No one can tell you what's best for you. You have to try and try and try again until you decide. You get to choose. This works for me, this doesn't. What works for me might not work for you. What works for you might not work for Janelle or Lucretia or the next person. So this is about, number 1, taking personal responsibility. That's one of the words, responsibility. The second word is vulnerability. You have to be willing when you're in your soul care practice to be vulnerable. I'm not saying be reckless, I'm saying be vulnerable. So that means you also have to, for your soul care, create a safe and sacred space. Don't be vulnerable with the wrong people, because that can be disastrous. So you want to be vulnerable, you want to take personal responsibility. Number 3, the third word is transparency. Transparency. You have to be willing to tell yourself the truth and drill down to what matters, which is the root of your truth. So responsibility, vulnerability, transparency, 2 more, integrity. Integrity. Integrity will keep your soul intact, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient. Integrity is important. And lastly, accountability. So in your practice of soul care, which is a part of self-care, you want to be responsible. You're responsible. You alone are responsible for your emotions. That does not mean that what happened or why it happened or how it happened or who else is a part of it happening, that does not mean other people did not take part in it. What I am saying is you alone are responsible for how you react, how you respond to what happened. We can't always control what's happening, but what we do have control over is managing how we respond to it. So those 5 words again are responsibility, vulnerability, transparency, integrity, and accountability. Why is accountability important? Because you need an accountability space and or partner or tribe or community, someone that's going to check in, because we can't police one another. I don't believe in policing adults. I don't believe in micromanaging relationships. I do believe, though, in mutual accountability. I'm going to check on you. How are you doing? I haven't heard from you in a while. You need somebody who, when they haven't seen you or heard from you, is going to pick up the phone or come and knock on your door and say, get dressed. We're going outside, right? This is soul care. It's not just about us alone individually, but it's also about the people who are in our circle. So soul care is also about being connected to the right community so that you have the right circle to support you as you are nourishing your soul. And my last offering to you today is 5 more things. And I love giving things in 5 because 5 is the number of grace. 5 is the number of activation and activating our awareness. So number 1, believe that you are worthy of practicing soul care. Believe that. Number 2, I mentioned this earlier and it's worth repeating. Remember to breathe deeply. Breathe deeply and often. That's a critical part of soul care, is breath work, connecting to your breath. A lot of times we don't breathe. Anxiety and overwhelm, we get in, I got to get it done. I got to produce. I got to manifest. I got to get to this meeting. I got to finish this task. And then I got to go to the next one. And I got to get down the list. And we're not breathing, which means our bodies are not getting the oxygen that's needed to support us and hold us up so we can think clearly, so we can act accordingly, and so that we can just, feel good. That's what this is about at the end of the day. It's about feeling good. So believe that you're worthy of soul care. Remember to breathe deeply. Number 3, just be. Just be. Just be. As you're becoming who you see yourself becoming, just be. Be your way through. When you commit to being, the doing will happen organically. Just be who you are. Just be who you are. This is the importance of soul care, because in your being, you get clarity. And there's nothing like clarity, nothing like clarity. Number 4, mind your business. Mind your business, meaning stay out of other people's business. Watch this. This is a double entendre. And mind your business. Be mindful, not mindless. Be mindful. Be present. Be conscious. Be aware. Mind your business. That's why it's important to go outside and let the sun just hit you, because when the sun hits you, it literally activates your pineal gland, and it brings you into a centering or a groundedness or an alignment. All of these words mean the same. It brings you into this space of groundedness so that your inner peace is not disrupted by the madness. And there's a lot of madness, from the pandemic to police brutality to politics with this upcoming election to people losing it, literally. So you want to mind your business. And lastly, doing these things, believing that you're worthy, remembering to breathe deeply, just being as you're becoming, minding your business. And I'm going to insert also in here, get you a good playlist and create a soundtrack to your life, to your soul care. Give yourself a soul care playlist, a soundtrack, because music moves energy. Music moves energy, and it also settles your soul. And when you consistently practice these things, and you might not do all of them every day, but when you consistently practice at least one of these things, at least one, whether you're living the question, whether you're on today, you're letting the answer breathe, whether on today you're being loyal to your resolutions, or you're doing all 3, right? This is your practice. The outcome is that it's going to increase your bottom line, not just financially in your business. It's going to increase the value of your self-worth, and it's going to increase your stability in your soul space, which is the seat of your emotions. And so soul care really is self-care. It has value. It's not really an option. I believe that soul care as a part of your self-care regimen is a necessity. It's crucial. It's critical. All of the words that are synonymous with, I implore you to do this, because it really will make life easier. It might not solve all of your problems, but what it will do is it will give you a steadiness as you walk out each day, understanding that sometimes all we can do is the next thing. It's okay that some days, in order to care for your soul, all you can do is the next thing. Moment by moment, we practice soul care, and consistently, we practice self-care. So thank you all for your time today. I, want to also invite you to visit my website, which is vickijohnson.com. That's VIKKI Johnson.com, where I have tools for soul care. I have candles and scented shea butter and room sprays, and my latest book, which is Soul Wealth: Finding Vision, Compassion, Authenticity, Abundance, and Legacy in the Midst of Chaos. Had no idea that 2020 would be what it is. But at the end of the day, I can rest in the fact and have peace and knowing that God knew. So that's why I was inspired to write this book, and it will change your life and support your soul care practice. And that book, again, is available on my website. I'm on all social media at All Things Vicki, that's VIKKI, and on YouTube at All Things Vicki Johnson. So thank you, Janelle. Thank you, Lucretia. This has been amazing. This is my thing right here. I love talking about this. I can talk about it and go on and on and on, but I just want to stop here to open the floor to answer any questions, and for people to share a frame or two or whatever you want to do next.
Yes, thank you so much, Vicki. This was amazing. And everything that I thought it would be, it was, and everything that I thought it needed to be, it was. So thank you so much
Okay.
for just sharing from your heart, but also your head, because I know this is what you do, Um, does anyone have any questions for Dr. Vicki right now as we open the floor up for any questions? This is such a great time. Take advantage while she's here, because it's such a great time and so relevant. So any questions? Don't be shy. I know y'all got some questions. I don't want to hog the mic. I have a question, but I was going to let y'all start first.
Well, I'll jump in because I know I had to jet in a couple minutes, but I love when you said go outside and hug a tree.
Mhm.
Like during COVID, especially in the warmer time of COVID this year, my daughter, our thing was at the time she was 4 and she was home and it was a lot. And she was like, Mom, let's just go for a walk. And one day I was like, no, I'm too busy. I said, you know what? Yes, let's go for a walk. And so our daily regimen was then to go out for a walk. If COVID didn't happen, me and Belle would probably not go for walks like that, like seriously. And so walking through the neighborhood, I remember capturing video of her watching a bee, on a flower for the first time. She's like, wow, what is it? And I'm trying to explain to her what's happening with the bee and the flower. And then you saw in the neighborhood, like the kids will have chalk marks in the driveway on different things. So then we went to Dollar Store and bought some chalk, and then we made pictures and stuff in our driveway. And it was just going out, getting some of that vitamin D and just breathing while we were doing it. And I wasn't like, well, no, come on, we got to go because Mommy got to get back to work. It was like, no, she wants to go for a walk. She wants to wear her Cinderella dress and her high heel shoes at 4 years old. Come on, let's go get out this walk, have this walk. And it just brought us back together again. I mean, I honestly say with COVID, And my daughter, she's been going to her school, her daycare for probably since she was like 8 weeks old, or maybe
Mhm.
3 months old. But when it was things were shut down and she was home, it was like I had to remember, like, wow, we have not had this time since maternity leave. This is the most time we spent together since maternity leave. And it didn't even dawn on me. And I'm like, my God, this is like a God favorite thing that's happening, because the amount of time I was able to connect with her before she's getting ready to get prepared for kindergarten, and we would go out and hug trees.
Yeah,
Like, it was
yeah.
a good moment for us. And I'm glad you said that, because people forget that, everyone has a tree. There's a tree somewhere. You come out the door, there's a tree somewhere. And although you may not want to hug it, just breathe and enjoy the miraculous on how, the tree was actually even created. So it's just the simple things.
It is the simple things. And I'm so glad you said that, because I want to just share also, in addition to that, I appreciate the fact that you slowed down, right? And the thought can be for a lot of people that when I slow down, I'm going to miss out. But the truth is, when you slow down, the manifestation is accelerated. Believe it or not. Because even though you slowed down to spend time with your daughter, I can almost guarantee you didn't miss a beat in your business. It activated something in you that increased capacity, and you accomplished probably more in less time by taking the time to care for your soul. And I will say that caring for your soul includes loving on your daughter and connecting with her in ways that you probably did not think to do prior to this time. So thank you for sharing that, because slowing down is a wonderful way to practice self-care, because the things that matter manifest in an accelerated way. I love the lesson about her seeing the bee on the flower for the first time. Like, how she will never forget that. She will always remember that. And I know that blesses your soul as her mother.
Yes.
This is what I'm talking about.
That's so good.
This is what I'm talking about. I don't believe in team no sleep. I'm like, go to sleep. Right? I don't ascribe to that. I don't judge that if that's what other people want to do. But the way that it has been downloaded to me to share to the world in my work is to slow down. Slow down and hug a tree. I love that, Lucretia. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad, as a mother of a daughter, and I only have one, as a mother of a daughter, that moment is precious, and allow that to water your soul. Like, because the time will come when you may have to choose work or business or something over doing something with her. And so you allow moments like her witnessing the bee on the flower for the first time to fill up your coffer, right? To keep your well full. This is why I say give from your overflow and not your capacity. So I just offer to you to allow that to take root. Just that memory, that simple memory, allow it to take root in your heart and soul. So in the future, when you need it, you can pull on it and draw from it, and your daughter will appreciate it and be better for it. That was sweet. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wasn't that yummy? That was good. Okay.
That was so good. That was so good. And I actually was going to share something or ask something similar, Vicky, because Lucretia and I both are, our moms of little ones. And so we know that the business and the mommying, race is all too real. And especially has been during COVID. But like Lucretia, I found myself getting outside with the boys. We started this run and ride challenge, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna run while they ride their bikes, and mind you, I do not run, but I was like, I'm going to do it anyway, because that was the only source of exercise that I could get my hands on. And I'm a gym rat. I like to go to the gym, always have. And the gym was not available. But I was like, I've got to do something. And so that ended up being my something, but it turned into so much more
Yeah.
than just exercise. Like, it was my space and time with God. It was my time for music, like to download music. And I love music. So when you said music, I was like, oh, like music is life for me. In the morning, I put it on first thing. We, the boys, we light up the house with music so that we can just wake up, and so all these moments have started to happen organically. And that's what I wanted to get to is I came into COVID very depleted, very burnt out. And I thought for a moment my creativity had just left me, like had been zapped. But yet the creativity has been abundantly a blessing during this time because of what you just said. I wrote it down. In order for us to serve from a place, we have to serve from overflow and not capacity. I was at capacity.
Yep.
I was at capacity and did not even understand what overflow looked like. And so the overflow is what I'm experiencing now, which is crazy because at the same time, I'm like, okay, God, what we doing? What we doing? Like, I don't know. But I have this inner peace that I'm not concerned. I'm not worried. I'm not trying to figure it out, because that's usually what would happen is I'd be like, okay, I gotta figure this thing out, but I'm not there. And so I just appreciate you again sowing these words, because I truly am experiencing everything that you have said.
Awesome. I'm so glad, to hear that. And the truth is, we cannot beat our soul giving, no matter how hard you try. So another way to say that is, when you take care of your soul will take care of you. Your soul will take care of you when you take care of your soul. And so this year has been a year of discovery for all of us, discovering new things about ourselves, about people we love, about what we're doing, what we're giving our time, energy, money, and attention to. And it, in many ways, has been a gift. With all of the trauma, it has also been a gift to us to really reset what matters. And that is what the space of soul care will do. Because when you come into that place of stillness and caring for your soul, and it can look like meditation, it can look like prayer, it can look like reading books, it can look like writing, it can look like all of these, whatever nourishes you is what your practice should be. And you just can't beat your soul giving. When your soul is wealthy, the rest of your life is too.
Yeah. And
Hard
sleep,
stop.
honey. What is sleep? Like, I didn't even know what sleep was. I was what, last